My name is Sara Gelser Blouin, and I'm the state senator here in the Corvallis area. Most importantly, I get to be a mom, although my kids are all grown. And I have with me the person that introduced me to Dallas. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Gelser, I'm the executive producer of Squad.
Yes, Sam is the executive producer of the Squad Years. Many thanks to Dr. Ross, who several years ago gave Sam some Wicked socks for his birthday, because Sam loves Wicked, and fortunately, there have now been 2 movies. But what you were going to come up and tell me was how you use Dial-A-Bus.
Help me go to the art
To help you go to the ARC, and what do you do at the ARC?
music class.
A music class?
Yeah.
And would you be able to go to music class if you did not have a ride?
No.
And then you would just be at home?
Yeah.
Yeah. And before, Dial-A-Bus helped you get to where? Before the pandemic, to
Wait.
work. Wings? Yeah, to Wings and to work. So Dial-A-Bus has helped you earn money, have a job. Dial-A-Bus has helped you engage with friends, do fun things in the community. Yeah, right. And Dial-A-Bus helped Sam go to school. And all of you do that. You can sit down now if you want. Thank you, Sam. Come on. I found myself getting pretty choked up watching the video for a couple of reasons. One, this is just a really hard time for a lot of those organizations. And in my work life, we're really wrestling with some really difficult decisions that will impact a lot of those organizations. And it was such a great video for demonstrating how critically important transit is. I mean, that just drew the through line through every generation of our community, through every sector of our community, and just really demonstrated that without transportation, people can't buy food. People can't get to the doctor, they can't get to friends, they can't plan their lives, they can't get to school. And the need to have drivers that recognize them and support them to get to these places when they're in a difficult time. And I would love to follow up with you later, Jocelyn, because I'm actually involved in a lot of conversations about transportation and young people that really demonstrate their trauma through some pretty challenging behaviors. You all make that possible for all of these people, from aging people that live in Benton County that can't get to places on their own, to some of the smallest kids who have been disrupted from everything that they know in their life, and the one person they know is the driver that they can rely on, that they know will show up every time and deliver them safely. So thank you so much for doing those things. It is truly life-changing. And the other things that you see would not happen if you weren't there to do that work and make that happen. We've just come through in my work, I serve in the legislature, and there was this little conversation about transportation that some people might have heard that we're continuing to have in Oregon. And one of the biggest parts of that conversation is helping people understand why transit is so important. And I spent a lot of time trying to talk to people about why special transportation is so important. It's been a few years since the Special Transportation Fund moved and became part of kind of that statewide transit funding stream. And a lot of folks don't know that because people often don't pay attention to the little details about how some programs work. And I've heard people say, well, how was special transportation paid for before we used this particular funding mechanism? And it was paid for in a different way that we took away. And that has really worked to me, not just because of the services that were provided by all of you and folks around the state that offer similar services, but because of a promise that I made to someone. Do any of you know, or wouldn't know her now, but how many of you had the opportunity to know a woman named Barbara Sackett? No one. So Barbara Sackett, she was the founder of the ARC of Benton County. She actually developed the entire developmental disability service system in the state of Oregon. She set up a folding table and moved around between Lynn and Benton and Lincoln County in the 1950s after her daughter was born with Down syndrome. And she just had this Rolodex to keep people moving. She got public school for kids with disabilities in Corvallis before it was the federal law. She is why we have community developmental disability programs. And she was passionate about transportation and special transportation, which is what it was called before she died almost 20 years ago. She was very close to me, and I got the call to go to her house because it was the end. And it was very Barbara Sackett-like. She's a very bossy person, and she always had a list, and she always had things that you wanted to do. And she said, I've got mail for you on the table. I need you to go in my place tonight to a Corvallis neighborhood housing event. And I need you to promise me that you will not forget about transit and special transportation. So every time we're having a conversation in Singla about transit and special transportation, I think about that last time that I sat with Barbara, and those literally were her last hours. And I know that she knew and saw from the work that she did how important that transit was, and her concern for her daughter to continue to thrive in the community, knowing her ability to get to work, to get out and to was just so good. The last thing that I just wanted to say before I sat down and turned you back to the more exciting things like singing and figuring out which raffle tickets get pulled is that the other reason I felt really moved by that video is because it's such a phenomenal community. And right now there are so many things that are hard in the world. And I'm getting a lot of phone calls and emails and people stopping down the street and saying, what can I do? What can I do? I'm worried about my neighbors. I'm worried about their safety. I'm worried about what people have left to eat. I'm worried about whether people have housing. I'm wondering about families around me being separated. And all of you, whether you are volunteers or board members or employees of Guy on the West, you're doing it every day. You're showing up with what Esmeralda said is that big, beautiful smile. You are giving people the ability to plan and to not just plan a life, but to have a life. You are providing companionship and socialization and a sense of belonging to people who need that. Because every single one of us needs that. And that really is the best gift that any of us can give, is to make sure that everyone around us feels seen and honored. And so thank you all so much for making it possible to do that. And thank you for all that you have all done to allow my son to be able to go to work and even go to dance with us. Thank you.